a few new fun techniques using some of the distress inks, which have just recently been launched on our website as well. So yeah, if you're looking forward to celebrating Valentine's and you want to gift a lovely handmade card to someone, then just keep on watching. I am going to change up the format slightly because I've heard in the comments that some of you want to be a bit closer to be able to see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm now going to try and move the camera down, and then you'll have like a down facing view of my workstation. So hopefully that's a little bit better for you. So I'm just going to move the camera for you and we'll get started. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too much of a shaky transaction, and hopefully this is a better view for you. So to start off with, I'm obviously going to be making a Valentine's Day card, and I've just taken some hibiscus coloured cardstock. This is just from our regular textured cardstock pack, and what I've done is I've just made a square card which is 15 centimetres by 15 centimetres. You can measure it up with a ruler, but if you do have our Sizzix mat, you can sometimes use the squares as centimetres as well, which is also really handy. So that's my card base, and then we're going to start to work on obviously everything on the front. So I'm going to move that to one side, and we're going to use the floral crescent moon die from Chapter One. Now this does actually come with some lovely florals, hence the name floral crescent moon, but I'm just going to use the moon shape for this particular make. And then I'm also going to be using the Love Hearts die set because I'm going to be using some of the hearts and some of the stamps as well. So they're the two dies that I'm going to be featuring or showcasing today. And what I'm going to do is take a piece of white card. I'm going to check that this is the right size because I've actually pre-cut this, and this is 14 centimetres by 14 centimetres. So I've just got that little border there. So that's just ever so slightly smaller. Okay, so that's just plain white card. And then I've got another piece of white card that is just ever so slightly smaller. This one's not cut to perfection. This is just pretty simple because I just want it slightly smaller, and that's just going to sit underneath that one. Okay, so what we're going to do is on the one that's actually measured, we're going to create a sort of negative so we can see through the moon, and then behind it we're going to have this, which is going to be some sort of inked pattern, and that's what I'm going to work on first, I think. So taking the piece of card that is slightly smaller than this one and it's going to sit underneath, I'm going to take the moon die and just with a pencil draw around this. And this is just to give me a guideline of where that shape is, okay? And then I'm going to take some stencil film. Now this is our Sizzix stencil film, and I believe you get 10 sheets of A4 stencil film in a pack, and it's really handy because obviously you can create your own stencils with it. You can use it as like a translucent material on your cards or on your makes as well, but I'm actually going to use it as a stencil today. And I'm going to take this die, and I'm going to take the smallest heart and I'm going to use that to stencil with. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, I just brought that in, I'm going to create a stenciled heart pattern in the moon shape on the stencil film, and then I'm going to ink through it. So I'm actually going to bring in that pencil again and draw my moon shape again on the stencil film. It doesn't have to be anything neat. Okay, So I've got those there. And then I can start to cut my heart into the stencil film. So I'm going to take this one aside and bring in my machine. Hopefully you can see this. And then all I'm going to do is use the smallest heart from the Love Hearts collection, and I'm going to place the heart randomly over that moon that we just penciled in, and basically keep going until you have little hearts all over that moon shape. Okay, so I'll just do a couple more just to show you. Okay, and then one more. I'll do one up here, might do one upside down. I'm saying just be creative with how you're adding in these hearts, and they can go across all of the moon shape. They can just be slightly to one side of the penciled moon. That's absolutely fine. Okay, and then I would keep going until I'd got moons cut out or hearts cut out all over that shape. Okay, which would then look something like this. Now this one has obviously been used already, but hopefully you can get the idea that you would keep going around that shape with that die and just keep cutting. Okay, because you're obviously only going to see what is cut on this shape once we have the other layer on top. So all I would do now is place this on top of here. Now I've just used some maker's tape just to secure it in place, because this is like a low tack tape, so it's not going to ruin the surface or the card underneath or anything like that. And it means that you can ink without it moving around. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in my multi-tool. Now this is our multi-tool, and it does actually come with a craft knife and with a distress piece that fits on the other end, and then you can buy these extra ones which are blending tools or blending heads, which just twist on. It's a really handy tool. I tend to keep it double-ended so I can use it for both things at the same time. As long as I've got the protector on the craft knife, I'm perfectly safe. And the great thing about this is you can just remove these little Velcro pads, and it means that you can easily switch out the colours that you're using, whether you're inking or whatever. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this pink shade. So this is the Tim Holtz Distress Ink. This one is Pickled Raspberry, but obviously you can change up the colours to whatever suits you, and I've just had an extra blending pad underneath, and I've just velcroed it onto the end of my multi-tool, and I'm just going to dab it in my distressing and just sponge onto my background. Okay, now you can press, or you can get away with lightly smudging. That's perfectly fine too, but I am going to go over the top with another coloured distress ink anyway, so it doesn't need to be super opaque. So these distress inks are a relatively new addition to the Sizzix website, and they come in a variety of colours. So like I said, if there's a colour that you're not fond of, if you don't want any of the pinks or the reds, you could do a lovely blue and purple or something like that. And they're just really versatile. They're fantastic for this kind of stenciling, for creating backgrounds, for inking on the top of embossing folders, to highlight the effect that's been embossed. So you can use it for loads of different things. And like I said, there are so many colours to choose from. And I find that this multi-tool is a great way of applying the colour. So, okay. So I've got a bit of that, and then all I do is peel it off, pop the lid on, and then I'm going to bring in my next colour, which is this red colour, which is, what is this one? One Lipstick. This one's a really, really nice one. A nice sort of pinky red shade. And if you don't think you're going to end up using these distress inks in the larger pads, they do actually, on the website, do packs of smaller ones, so like almost like mini ones, and you can get a selection of colours in mini sizes, so you can obviously get several just of the smaller size. If you didn't want to commit to one or two of the bigger size, you could always go for the mini option, which I don't have here, but they are really handy, particularly if you're limited for space in your crafting area, or like I say, you're not sure if you're going to use them fully. It's definitely worth checking out. Okay, so I could probably go in and blend the colours on top of one another a little bit more if I had time, but just for time's sake I'm going to leave it at that, and then I would just peel that off, and you can see you've got your heart pattern in the background. Okay, so I've got one already dried here. This one I didn't pencil on the moon background, which is absolutely fine. It doesn't really matter. The pencil moon just helps you navigate where you're going to put the top layer, which I might actually go over the top and just make sure I know where I'm popping that roughly. Just a really light pencil. So that's just going to help me to navigate where I'm going to put the next layer. Okay, so we've got this layer, and then the next one is the one that's going to sit on top, and that was obviously the 14 centimeters by 14 square, and then we can cut the aperture moon through this. Okay, so all I do is cut this out. I might actually cut it on camera for you. Ooh. Now just like gauge roughly where you want it. I am going to pop a sentiment down here as well, so I just want it ever so slightly off to the side. If you want to put your maker's tape on to secure it in place, you can. And I'm just going to pop it through my fold away machine. Oh, there we go. Okay, and as you can see, that is how it kind of cuts out, and normally you would end up using particularly this lovely thin piece, but I'm just going to use the aperture or the negative, which will sit over the top of there, and you'll be able to see those lovely inked hearts through it. Okay, so that's the idea. Just to highlight this top section, I am going to go back in with the pink distress ink, I think, and just ever so lightly go around the edge of this moon, just to highlight the edges. You cannot even pick it up. Might be better to put a piece of scrap paper underneath, actually. I just don't want to ruin that too much. I'm going to grab a piece of paper, I think, actually. There we go. Now you don't want anything too much on this little bit. I just want it slightly darker around the edge of this. Okay, and then if I kept going with that, you can see it's already kind of taking shape. I would end up with something like that. So as you can see, it's inked around the edges slightly, and the moon shape is a little bit more prominent, I think. So we can now start to kind of put everything together. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to bring back in the red card that we took before and the hearts that we inked as well. But before I pop those white layers on, I think I'm going to add in a little layer of gold opulent. So this is the glitter gold opulent cardstock, and all I've done is I've measured it to the size. It's 14.5 by 14.5, and just going to grab my adhesive roller and I'm going to pop that layer on, just because I'm going to add a little hint of gold to the moon as well, and I just wanted to bring in that colour a little bit. So I'm just going to turn it around so I can see exactly where I'm putting it. Okay, and how I've actually cut these down is I use the multi-tool but with the craft knife head on, so that's just really handy to have if you're card making. And then I'm going to pop that on there, and then this one is going to go over the top like so. So I can again use that adhesive roller, it's just quite quick and handy. Okay. And then I'm going to pop that one obviously over the top. I think what I am going to do as well is I'm going to bring in some more stencil film, and I'm going to use it like I mentioned at the beginning, but in a kind of different sense. So I'm going to use it as a kind of opaque, translucent, that's the word, translucent layer here, and then I can add in some gold. So the last little bit of cutting that I'm going to do is I'm going to take some gold opulent cardstock. This is the brush metal, I think, and then I'm just going to pop on some adhesive sheet on the back, and I'm going to cut that moon out one more time, and you're going to see why in a second. So I've just cut that out to the size of my cardstock, peel off this top layer, and then I'm going to stick it on the back. So this is the Sizzix adhesive sheet, which I think I do talk about quite a lot because it is really handy if you are cutting quite intricate dies, and it means that you don't have to use glue. So I'm going to cut this moon again using that piece of cardstock that we just put adhesive on the back. And pull that away. And the bit that I'm going to use this time is this thin outline, and that's why we put the adhesive sheet on the back, because it just means that I don't have to use glue on this very thin piece. Okay, says if it's gonna do what I want it to. There we go. Okay, so we've got that thin layer, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the piece of stencil film on the back of the moon that we sort of inked and cut out the negative, again with a little bit of adhesive sheet. And pop that on the back there. And then I'm going to peel off this bit here, which literally just peels off. I don't know if you saw that, but literally just peels away, and then this is sticky on the back. And I'm going to place that on to the stencil film, just inside of that moon aperture. Okay, so there you have your moon. And then last but not least, I'm just going to pop some foam tape on the back of here. You don't need much. I literally just take a little piece in each corner. And then this is going to slightly raise it to give it a sort of 3D effect. So again, just peel those bits off. Okay. And I'm going to spin it just to face me for a second, just so I can get it all nicely lined up. Okay, so as you can see, our card is coming together. We've got that lovely accents of gold, you've got the stencil film and that inked pattern underneath. And last but not least, I'm going to add a sentiment. So bringing back in that love hearts die that we used, that little heart for our inked pattern. I'm going to take the stamp to the moon and back, obviously, because it works perfectly with that floral crescent moon die. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it on a stamping block and stamp this with some black ink. You could do it with some coloured ink if you wanted, but I just want it to stand out. Okay. And then again, I'm just going to spin it towards me and just pop it down here in the right hand corner. It might have been a sensible idea for me to do this before I foam taped, just in case it comes out a little ski whiff, which it might, but oh no, there we go. And there we have to the moon and back. I just think that's so cute. It uses some really fun techniques that you may have not have thought of using before, but it's a really clean and simple card. You could even go over the top and add some little heart sequins if you wanted, some pink or red sequins, that would be really nice, or even some gold ones. But I think this is just really lovely and a perfect gift, a personalised gift to give on Valentine's Day this year. So there we go. I'll just switch you back up to the face, I'll say goodbye, and then we'll be done. There we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you enjoyed seeing this lovely Valentine's Day card. If you liked anything that I used today, like the stencil film or those distress inks, make sure to check out the Sizzix website for everything that I used. And yeah, I hope you enjoy remaking this one and gifting it to your loved one. I think it'd be really, really lovely. So thanks for watching today, guys. Stay safe, keep crafting, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.